Wow. This next article is salacious, to say the least, but I believe it's going to lead to a very important discussion about deepfakes and a lot of scrutiny around the FBI. With this headline here reading, quote, "The MLK tapes secret FBI recordings accuse Martin Luther King Jr. of watching and laughing as a pastor, forcefully took advantage of a woman, having 40 extramarital affairs, and they are under lock in a U.S. archive," claims author. Now, again, that's a very important part of the headline, claims author, because these are claims from an individual writing a book, trying to sell a book that, by the way, allegedly had access to the FBI surveillance tapes that are being held in a vault at the U.S. National Archives that are set to be released until 2027. So up until 2027, that's really when we're going to find out everything that's happening. But Jason, in this story, I do believe there's a lot of scrutiny that does deserve to be had against the FBI, which, by the way, put other people like George Carlin of all people, on an FBI watch list for simply making jokes about the FBI. There does deserve to be a lot of scrutiny. We're going to look at this story very critically, but before we do, just a friendly reminder, sign up on our email list. This link will be in the email below, in the description below, and with that, you get to sign up on our email list, which we send out one a day. We're going to send one out today, and it's the only real way to make sure that we don't get fully censored, destroyed by the technocratic oligarchs, monopoly villains who want to control every aspect of your life by controlling the free flow of information, deeming information that is anti-establishment as bad, and anything that supports the system, oh yeah, that's great. They're going to push that, put that on your timeline, but of course, our videos are getting screwed over in incredible ways. But Jason, let's just get to the story, because everything here is detailed in many different ways. There could be a lot of different truths said here, but it's important to look at everything at a very critical eye, since, again, this is all allegedly from this author trying to sell a book that took a look at his archives. But he is very detailed. He does talk about how an FBI agent planted transmitters in 2 lamps in hotel rooms that were booked by Martin Luther King in January of 1964. He details how J. Edgar Hoover, of course, ordered the surveillance on King to undermine his power amid fears that he could be linked somehow to the communists. But again, this doesn't surprise me, since, of course, no human being is perfect. Everyone has some skeletons in their closet, and the intelligence community was extremely aggressive against MLK, who was vilified by the mainstream media, by the establishment, by the political system, and definitely the intelligence agencies that had a war pretty much declared on him because of what he stood for politically. So, Jason, what do you think of these kind of allegations? They are very salacious, but could they be true?
I think some of them for sure could be true. Extramarital affairs of a powerful man, I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. What I do want to point out is, however, the large majority of the bigger things that are out here, like the fact he cheated on his wife or that there were these audio tapes of him doing so, have been around for a while. In fact, his wife, Coretta Scott King, has said that she was sent these while they were still married to try to break up their marriage. At least, 1 or 2 of these tapes. Here's the problem. All right, we know...
the FBI, by the way, that's a big thing here, Jason. She alleges that FBI called her and played back tapes of MLK with other women. That's finagling by the intelligence. If that's true, that says a lot about the FBI, the Bureau of Federal Investigations.
Yeah, well, again, I have no reason to doubt that that is truthful. Let's be honest, by their own actions, by the fact that they actually sent him a letter telling him to commit suicide. And here's the biggest problem I have with all this. They have all this surveillance on him that we know about. They have a program called COINTELPRO to discredit these movements of civil disobedience to try to get racial equality. We know all of this to be true. We know that when the House Intelligence Committee heard evidence that there was more to his murder than just James Earl Ray, they actually ruled in that favor and said it was probably a conspiracy. So here we are, waiting to see these documents that some kind of a historian, this is what bothers me. Who gets to decide what historians see, what information, and then interpret in their own way and say whether it's valid or not? That's very detrimental. These headlines, for instance, are going to be out here, and we're going to have to wait till 2027, Luke, just to see if we get these documents. And let's not forget, Trump twice failed us this year on the JFK documents that were already pushed back. You watch that old Oliver Stone film, those documents should have been declassified over a decade ago. Yeah. Those are the facts. We never get them. So all I'm saying is, Luke, the longer they wait, let's say we get them in 2027, technology is already out there that you can easily fake audio of somebody and easily fake video. And it's only going to be in more and more hands afterwards. So we're going to have to decide for ourselves in some way what's real and what isn't.
Well, before we go off that, let's still stick to this like major news revelation today, because it is very detailed. And because it is very detailed, people are saying, yeah, this could probably be true. These allegations, again, as you said before, they're nothing really new. There was these allegations before that he was, how do I say this?
Promiscuous?
Promiscuous, yes, and family-friendly show, Promiscuous. And allegedly, he jokingly called himself the founder of the International Association for the Advancement of Women's Private Part Eaters. That's allegedly what he called himself, according to some of these recordings. But one of the serious allegations is, of course, the most disturbing one, with him allegedly laughing and watching. Let me just read off some of the segment here in this article. In King's hotel room, which the FBI bugged by planting devices and was also located next door, the files claim that they discussed Martin Luther King and his friend, who was a pastor, that discussed which woman among the passioners would be suitable for natural and unnatural sex acts. The FBI document says when one of the women protested that she did not approve, the Baptist minister immediately and forcibly sexually abused her as King watched. He is allegedly to have looked on, laughed, and offered advice during this encounter. FBI agents were in the room next door, but did not intervene. Let me use that again. Did not intervene. The following day, King and a dozen of other alleged participants in a sex orgy engaged in acts of degeneracy and depravity. Again, that's just opinions and interpretation. But this is a very serious claim that King was watching, laughing, pointing, giving advice to like one of the most horrible acts that you could commit next to murder. Doing one of the worst human acts you could do to another human being, forcing themselves onto somebody else. But again, if this is true, why didn't the FBI, which was after him, which was watching every detail of his life, arrest him? It's illegal to watch a crime happen and not do anything about it, especially if you're encouraging it, especially if you're a part of it. The FBI, this is why there's a lot of questions and skepticism here, because one, if this is true, this is a dereliction of duty by the FBI that should have intervened. Two, why didn't they intervene when they could have had him dead to rights and a huge political scandal that would have ended his career and put him in jail for something that he was actually responsible for criminally? He was arrested a number of times for peacefully protesting, but this would have been an instant where he was arrested for something criminally. And this is a lot of the important questions that need to be asked here, because here, if this is true, either the FBI screwed up, the FBI messed up, knowingly or unknowingly, the responsibility is on them. And that's an important aspect because, again, you saw other stuff. You could actually even read the letter that the FBI sent MLK talking about this and trying to convince him, saying, hey, we have this information that you did this, kill yourself. That's allegedly what this article states here. Again, Jason, the details here, salacious to say the least, but a lot of questions still unanswered.
Well, once again, now let's break this down. They're saying that King was at an orgy filled with his parishioners, right, and other pastors. Now, that alone, if they could prove, if they could have a picture leaked to the media of him with other women, that would have been huge even back in the day, just the insinuation. Just the fact that that never came out gives me doubt that this story is real. Now, like you just said, they're supposedly in the next room. Now, if they're running surveillance, you would again think they had pictures of everybody going in, pictures of everybody coming out, and audio recordings of everything. Now, the FBI has been known to keep information so that they can use it for blackmail later on. I've seen no evidence that they were able to successfully blackmail Martin Luther King Jr. In fact, that's probably why he got assassinated. So you have to really ask yourself, because we know that the CIA used things like MK Ultra to actually blackmail people. Go ahead.
I mean, this is not just blackmail. They were pushing him to kill himself. That's on the record. There's evidence of that. There's documents of that. Again, allegedly, according to this author, senior FBI officials sent King copies of these incriminating tapes along with the letter calling him a, quote, evil, abnormal beast with his sexual exploits recorded all the time, suggesting that, of course, he kill himself for all of his wrongdoings. This is pretty major. And again, you brought up an important aspect. You know, this is not just extortion, but this is a level of abuse by government that is something that should be extremely troublesome. Because if you think the FBI stopped doing this, you're extremely naive. This is how the agency has been acting for a very long time. And for you to think this is not happening now, especially with the track, trace, and database system that we have now, with virtually us being spied on, like MLK was spied on, to the same essential level, if you think that's not happening to individuals in power, you got a whole nother thing coming. But it says here in the article here that his wife, Coretta, often complained that he was hardly with her and that he would spend less time with her, less 10 hours a month at home. This is allegedly evidence. Again, as you brought up, Coretta, the wife of King, denies a lot of these allegations. But what do you make of King's wife here? Because there could be a lot to say here.
Well, again, you know, a wife is often going to stand by her husband just like a girlfriend is going to stand by their partner. That you got to kind of take with a grain of salt. But we know, like I said, we know they were trying to discredit him. The orgy stuff that's been out there, like you said, it's actually in the letter that we've seen that the FBI actually sent them. Like I said, you know, I've seen Cynthia McKinney talking about this, and she was for a committee to hear and see all the evidence and then release what was appropriate based on their own judgments. I am not of that judgment. I say let it all hang out, let the warts be shown, and let the chips fall where they may, and then we're going to have to make our own decision. And just like I said earlier, Luke, the longer they wait, the more and more this stuff is going to come into question once it comes out. Because, listen, we're already at a point where audio recordings can't be trusted, video often can't be trusted, and like I said, the longer we wait, the more those technologies are going to expand and get better.
The last part of this article I kind of wanted to bring up because it's the part of this information here. It says, quote, King was assassinated in 1989 by James Earl Ray. But many conspiracy
69
theories suggest that the government was involved. 1968, sorry. That the government was involved. And again, conspiracy theories, no. There was actually a court decision with a jury of its peers who heard the evidence and ruled that MLK died because of a government conspiracy against him. That's a court decision in the United States. People need to remember that. And Jason, you talked about this for a very long time. There's a lot of unanswered questions about the death. It's not a conspiracy theory. There's a lot of facts, very important facts that people need to wrap their head around this particular case.
Yeah, it's just so odd that when the FBI is surveilling you, that assassins can get so close and become so successful. I mean, you look at John Lennon, for instance. He's being surveilled all over, and that surveillance didn't stop an assassin from taking his life. Food for thought, folks, especially when they're smearing somebody who really preached peace and equality, and that's the truth of the matter. Guys, we're doing 4 videos a day across 2 separate platforms, News for a Change and We Are Change. Make sure you are subscribed. You're ringing that bell. Not only ringing the bell, but make sure you're getting all notifications, because now you can ring the bell and they'll never tell you we put a video out. It's really awesome. Thanks, YouTube. Your algorithm super rocks and only gets better with each day. So if you can, guys, share this on social media and get out there and be the change you want to see in the world.